been a little while, and I'm so excited to chat with you about the new album because I've just been listening to it, and I'm not just saying this because you're on the Zoom call with me now, but that is by far the best album I've heard this year by some distance.
Wow. Wow. Thank
That
you.
is
That's
genuinely, it's an incredible album. I love every single track on it, and you must be so proud of this project. It feels like a real journey from start to finish.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dan. I appreciate that, man. I really am. I am deeply proud of it. I'm so excited to get it out there in the world, and it was a lot of fun to make. So I usually when you're having fun making it, it means it's going to be fun to listen to.
Yeah. So, like, what was the goal for this album? Because I mean, you've proven yourself in the past as a top songwriter and a brilliant artist in your own right. But what did you want to say with this record? Was there a particular message you wanted to put out there, or was it just sort of best song wins?
Yeah, I'm always my process is before I get to making a record, I'm always looking for the best. Every day I look for the best song, right? And then when I start to see kind of a theme emerge, I kind of think of it like there's kind of pillar songs that kind of tell me, okay, there's a theme happening here. There's something, we can hang a whole record on. And Make a Little Room was that. Songs like Make a Little Room, Numbered, and Let's Go to the Lake, those were the ones that kind of showed me, hey, there's, I'm starting to see what this record is about, at the heart of this album. And it was, for me, it was really a product of living through the global pandemic, and having a second child, just kind of cementing my new life, as a father, and having time and space to reflect on what's most important to me, and what was missing, and how I want to focus moving forward, and the kind of person I want to be, and how I want to live. And I think it to me, it's just kind of about reclaiming what matters to you the most, and fighting for those things, and making space, and having margin in your life for that. Of course, there's a lot that can go into that category, but that's kind of the overarching theme, that all the songs in one way or another can kind of fall into that.
Well, I'll tell you, it's so refreshing to see an artist who's so committed to the album thing as well these days, because we see so many sort of drip-fed singles and EPs every few months, and I love that you're so into that, sort of taking the listener on a journey. And like, how important is that for you to do that?
I think it's very important to me. I've thought about in the past, about doing, the EPs and more singles. It just, because I appreciate you saying that, because sometimes it does feel old school and antiquated, and people's attention spans, I know, are not what they used to be. Mine isn't what it used to be, so that's just, to me, as I was saying, that's just kind of how I know it's at this point, is when it's time for me to make a record. When I can see a whole body of work, that's kind of how I know, okay, uh, I know how to put this together. And that's when I get excited. I get excited about the chasing songs every day, but I kind of need that whole collective to kind of get fired up, and to do all the stuff it takes to get it out there and record it and all that.
Yeah,
So
well,
it is important to me, and I know not the masses. The way I do it may not be for the masses, but I got to believe there's people like you that still appreciate that process.
absolutely, yeah, yeah. And I know that for you, well, I'm guessing as well that a lot of work goes into the track listing as well, because you look at Numbered, which you put out last Friday. I mean, that's the final track on the album.
Yeah,
That's such a categorically Steve Moakler song, and I don't know why, but it's just got that
thank
magic to it that a lot of your material does. But tell us a little bit about like why you chose that one to finish the album and close it out.
Yeah, no, thank you for saying that. And I do put a lot of thought into the sequencing. That's, usually it's a whole night. It's one whole night I set aside, and I cut out the song titles, and it's just me, and I just press play and try this, and find that right sequence. And Numbered was one we initially had earlier on the record, and the first, my producer and I took a first stab at the sequencing, but it didn't feel quite right. And it's actually the only song on the record that my producer Andy Skibb and I co-wrote. And he had the same feeling, that it kind of had this sense of like, it kind of felt like a song where if it was a movie, the credits would roll over it. I can't tell you why. It just kind of felt like that. And so it just felt right at the end. It kind of felt like it summed it all up in the same way that Make a Little Room thematically started it. It felt like it came full circle with Numbered, in a more final way, with that outro and the yeahs and everything kind of slowly falling apart.
Yeah.
So really, really happy. And again, it's a surprise. You go and record the songs and you don't know, not really thinking about sequencing at all, but once they come together, it starts to reveal itself. It's exciting.
Yeah, well, another personal favourite of mine on the album as well, Start a Band, which I know you wrote with Neil Mason.
Yeah,
that one sort of like that evokes so many emotions, that song, because it encapsulates what it's about to be a touring musician. There's the sadness in there and the frustration, but there's that sort of underlying optimism there, which I love. Tell us a little bit about how that one came together with Neil.
Yeah, that one's kind of got a lot to it. I really like that song too. I feel like it's kind of different it's a different story than I feel like I've told before. And it's on one hand, it's reminiscent, but on the other hand, it's actually, I think what kind of triggered that was, thinking about my kids and going, do I want, because people always say things like, do you want your, like, do you think it'd be cool if your kids got into music and all? And I honestly feel so hesitant about it. My first instinct is no, no, don't do this, But then I think, man, I mean, so really starting a band is really what's made me who I am. It's how I've learned so many important lessons in life, and it's it's challenged me and sharpened me, and and it's been such an adventure. I wouldn't trade for anything. So I think in the back of my mind, I think that's kind of where that started, was people saying stuff like that to me, of like, asking about, are my kids into music, and, starting to think about that. But what was neat about the timing, so I had the title and I brought it to Neil, and I happened to write it the day before my best friend's wedding, who was the drummer in my high school band. And we've been friends since middle school, had a falling out. And now he actually lives here in Tennessee, and is one of my very best friends. So we have a really cool history together as friends, and it kind of all started in the way I talk about in the song, of just like showing him the songs I was writing and playing it, in the garage, and that's where it began. Well, now he's in banking now, but I'm his buddy, and it started with that starting a band. So there's a lot to it, man. It's a really, really special song, and there's a lot of layers to it for me. But thank you for saying that. Yeah, I'm really excited about that song.
Absolutely, man. And we mentioned Neil there, but he's one of many amazing songwriters you've got on the album. I wanted to speak to you about working with Lucy Silvers as well on Autumn Came Back. Obviously, she's flying the flag for the UK over there. So tell us a little bit about working with Lucy and Andrew D. Roberts as well, of course, on that track.
Before I dive in, I do want to circle back to. I'm sorry I didn't say enough about Neil, because
go for it.
It was really Neil was the perfect guy to bring it to, because he's one of the few guys in Nashville that really is in a band, with the Cadillac 3. So then anyway, he brought so much to that song. But sorry, you were saying about Lucy.
Yeah, and I've got Andrew as well on that track.
Yeah.
Just about working with those guys and how much Lucy brings as a songwriter as well, because we know she's a killer artist in her own right.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and Lucy brought the title Autumn Came Back. She had that idea, and maybe you can speak to this, but we don't use the word autumn a ton, right? That's a common everyday lingo for that.
It is indeed.
So, she brought, and it just, we're like, that sounds cool. And I remember just kind of tossing around the idea, and we really weren't overthinking it. This was even before I was in the frame of mind of making a record. So that song was just really fun to write, and and Andrew's an amazing player, producer, and I feel like Lucy and I both kind of had our artist hats on, and we weren't really writing for me. We're just writing a song we thought was cool, and it was a blast, and it just felt natural to have her featured on the song, because once you hear her voice on the demo,
there's no letting go.
I really want to hear it without you now, she's so awesome, man. She's so talented and such a sweet person. And I think it's neat because her being a piano player, she actually played the piano on the track.
Wow.
We kind of got the full Lucy experience with not only the voice, but the keys too. And I feel like the track kind of has a little bit of a, you know, a UK vibe to it. We referenced Oasis when we were putting the guitar solo on. And it has a little touch of that. It's a little bit of my British invasion moment.
Yeah, I love that, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But again, just coming back to songwriters again, there's so many amazing talents on it. I mean, you look at the track list, there's Luke Laird, Barry Dean, Marcus Hummett, these incredible songwriters who've had tons of hits. I mean, you've been doing this a long time. You've been a songwriter for many years now. How inspiring is it still for you to get into a room with these guys?
Oh, it's so inspiring, man. I think I even feel more grateful for it now, you know, than ever. I think, you know, when I was newer to Music Row, I think I feel like I may even take some of that for granted. You know, now that I've been here for this long and I've watched so many people kind of come and go, I feel more grateful, you know, to be in rooms with such talented people. They're a huge part of this record. You know, I mean, the Nashville songwriting community is incredibly special, and they all made such huge contributions to these songs. It wouldn't be the record it is without them.
That's awesome. And I just want to chat with you a little bit about touring and live shows as well. These hometowns and campgrounds shows that you do, I want to delve into that because,
sure,
like, it's awesome to see you sort of living that kind of lifestyle and spending so much quality time with your family and your kids, and that must be so important to you. I'm sure it has its difficulties as well.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But tell us a little bit about how much that means to you doing those kind of shows.
You know, dude, I have just come to love it. It just checks all the boxes. It checks almost all the boxes for me. I'll say this personally, it checks all the boxes for me. It's you know, the hardest thing about being a musician is you got to go on tour, right? You got to be away from your family. And as I've had kids, it's gotten, you know, more difficult to do that. So having them along on the ride, I never have a sense of homesickness. You know, it astounds me. We can stay out forever because it's this kind of seamless thing of I'm with my family and then we step into this environment that is a family environment. I don't mean to say that just in a wholesome family. I mean like it feels like family everywhere we go. It just, whether it's close friends or neighbors or a family unit, it's just seamless transition. And I love getting to have a longer conversation and hang out with the people that like our music. It just puts so much wind in my sails. You know, I think it's really in a traditional touring model, and in a traditional career, you know, there's so many methods of measurement, right? Well, how's your song doing on the chart? How many tickets did you sell in so-and-so city? And you can kind of live and die by those numbers. And for me, it has caused a lot of anxiety too. It's just tough. But somehow when we go on our road trip, man, none of that matters. I'm so fulfilled by just getting to have a conversation with somebody who loves the music and hearing why, you know, why I do listen to music. I think it's really helped me as an artist to identify why people like my music, you know, and so I can keep kind of going. Oh, it's like, oh, okay, maybe that's the thing that, you know, is really feeding people and unique about what I do. So when I go back to write and make a record, I really have that in mind, and I know the names of people, and I've been in their kitchens, I've been in their backyards and garages. I know where they're going to listen to it, and I know what their jobs are and what they're going through, and I create in a different frame of mind, much more in a service mindset, and it's been really cool. So I love it, man. I could go on and on about it. I don't know how much longer we'll get to do it. You know, my kids are gonna start going to school and things are gonna change for me, and I don't know exactly what that's gonna look like, but I'm hoping to get at least one more year of doing things.
Yeah, that's awesome. And just finally, Steve, before I let you go, you've got the Make a Little Room release tour coming up, starting in Pennsylvania on August 5th. The obvious question for me is, when are we going to see you in the UK? We've been waiting, man.
You have been asking me, man, and
I know.
I want to have a quick answer for you, but dude, I'm telling you, I was watching the Open last night, and I'm I'm wanting to come. I am jonesing to come out, man. I don't have dates right now, but I really want to. I just know that we would hit it off.
Absolutely. Well, Steve, when your next album comes out, don't leave me asking the same question again because it's been too long, man. We've been
Yeah,
waiting too long to get you over.
I'm gonna make it a priority, man. I would love to do it. We'll come out and do some shows.
Nice one, man. Well, Steve, thank you so much for chatting today, man. Really appreciate your time. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you
And
for all the encouragement, man. I appreciate
absolutely,
it.
man. And best of luck with the album. We'll be shouting from the rooftops about it. So
Thank you so much. I appreciate you, Dan.